My name is Rachel McLeod. I am a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I want to talk with you about, I have it up here. I'm trying new things out in my office because I want to be all up in the camera. Um, but we'll try this right here. But today I want to talk with you about how to calm your nervous system if you've got symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress constantly pushing you into states of fight, flight, freeze, or faint, and survival mode. Really, any variety of survival modes. And then really, I want to talk today about how to solve that problem and break out of that habit, that mental habit of going into survival mode, going into the fight, flight, freeze, or faint all day long, as for good, because that's really when we get to break out of those symptoms and really move anxiety, depression, traumatic stress into remission. And that's when you will always have emotions, but to be trapped up and to be sent into survival state that's where the dysfunction is. And there's lots of reasons for that. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about how to resolve that at the root. And so your brain's survival response is really important. You're never getting rid of that. It is part of how your brain works. Oh, it's hard to hear me. Good. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. I'm going to step closer because I'm trying to back up a little bit. But let's see. So let's see where we're at. Okay, so your brain's survival mode is always going to be there. And what's good about that is it will keep you alive when you need to survive. But sometimes our brains can really get confused and really start to go into survival mode about anything. When you hear a word like an illness, if you hear a word of an illness, your system might light up. Or if you remember a memory, or if you have a feeling, your survival system might just say, I need to protect you from this. I need to protect you from this. And the next thing you know, it's like protecting you from everything. And that's really, really, really frustrating because you're like, I don't need protection right now. Thank you. I'd like to just handle this, right? And that really can be the war, because it's like your survival system's there, you don't need it to be there, and it's overreacting and it's misunderstanding what's going on around you. And there's an important reason for that. That when you really work with that piece, your survival system will chill and will move out of the way. And then you can really engage your inner healer, your thinking center, to rewrite how your survival system is reacting. And that's when you get the biggest wins. So I look at this in a couple stages, and I'm going to talk about those. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask those. I will weave that in. Let's see. So, all right. I've had a lot going on recently, and I still, this was really on my heart to do. And so I'm like, let's do it. So we're going to do the best we can here, because my brain wants to scramble. This exercise right here, where you take your arms in here, this is wonderful for helping your brain work well. This actually will help eliminate symptoms of dyslexia. Also just feeling scrambled. Anyway, I'm doing that now because that's what my brain's doing right now. Okay, but let's go back to this. Okay, so you've got anxiety, depression, and or traumatic stress. Some people have have all three of them. Some people just have one or two. But all of them are the same root. And so here we go. Okay, so your thoughts and your memories and your emotions are constantly happening all the time. And if a lot of times, if they are fine, your survival system is like, this is what's happening in there, right? Your survival system is getting all this information from your body and your mind all the time, and it's the first one, it's the gatekeeper. And if stuff is coming through and it's like, okay, yeah, no problem, you're fine, you're safe, it lets them through the gate. If there's something that's painful, I'm sure what happens, it's a thought, and it has a little flag on it, and it's like got like the poison sign or like some sort of fire. It's got something that alerts your survival system that says, hey, You can't come in here. And it's like it will reroute that somewhere else because it will cause your whole system pain. And so your survival system is constantly all day long. You come in, you stay out. You come in, you stay out. Nope, you stay. How many times have you come up in here? You can't be in here. Your survival system is constantly doing that. And so what happens is if you've got symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, anytime your brain is coming, your survival system is coming into contact with one of those thoughts, one of those past events, one of the painful emotions, your system is going into a survival state over it. It's defending you. And so that's great, but it's really problematic. So what I teach a big strategy here, not a big strategy, but it's a very powerful strategy of paying attention and using an intervention. And the interventions I like to use that I rely on the most. You can use any intervention, including crying, but who wants to cry their way through an entire anxiety disorder or trauma disorder or depression disorder? And so I like these other ones because they're fast. They're faster than crying, and you can do them anywhere. Crying, you can do that anywhere too. But the interventions I like to use and I teach people to use are emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, and energy medicine. And so what I have people do is find these thoughts, the feelings, and the events, and I do that in a specific strategic order that tends to be helps them build skills and gets a lot of healing work done. But to take those thoughts, feelings, and events that your brain is constantly pulling up and reacting to, and taking one at a time and using the intervention with it. It's like you're going to mentally grab that, look at it, and you can do this lots of ways, and just one. And then you're going to use an intervention. Maybe you're going to use emotional freedom techniques, and you're going to, tap on the side of your hand, and you're going to tap while you're looking at this one thought, this one thing that every time you look at it, your system looks at it. And a lot of times it's not even in your conscious awareness. You don't even know that you're doing it. But when you become conscious and you're looking for these thoughts, you will see them, and you will grab them one by one, and you will hold them, and you will use your intervention. And then what happens is, this is what happens, okay? Those little flags that were sticking in there? The intervention takes the flags out, okay? That's what happens. It just throws them away. So now it's just a thought. And it doesn't have the pain. It doesn't have the alert, the alarm to your system. And so when it comes up, well, you're still paying attention to it. So it's coming up, and your inner healer is able to grab it through without setting off your survival system, and then it reprograms, it reprocesses, it goes through its little programming thing, and it's processing, and it's taking it apart, and it's pulling out anything it doesn't want, it's getting rid of it, eliminating it, and then it's handing off goodies to the rest of your brain, and the brain is like, oh, we'll use this over here, and it uses it to build new programs, new strategies, and it also sends messages to your survival center that thing is no longer dangerous. We worked with that. We resolved that. We're done with it. And let's move on. And so what happens is that one thought that you just grabbed, it will be able to come through because it's a trigger, right? It was a triggering emotion, thought, or event. And now it comes up again because our minds are constantly referencing. It's constantly like this. It's like one thought is connected in there, and lots of things will pull it up because it's part of you. It's part of what happened in your life. It's part of it. It's part of your emotional team. It's part of your thought process until it's not. Like, your brain can get rid of thoughts all the time, but anytime it's referenced, instead of it coming through your pathways in your survival system saying, alert, you press the panic buttons, press all, we can't let this thing in, stop, instead of that happening, it just marches right through. And so, and this, let me tell you what happens this in real life, okay? This is like, I'm going to use an example of a recent mom that I've been working with. Her kids have been fighting, and she's going into like a survival state. She's hearing a lot of negative thoughts about herself. She's getting hammered and bombarded in her head, and her limbic system is freaking out, going to survival mode. And the survival mode her system is choosing is fight. So then she's going to fight mode, and she's fighting, or yelling, and doing all this stuff. And then she has to like constantly pull herself back out. And finally, she was like, "This is ridiculous. I don't want to treat my kids like this. This is not what I'm doing." And so in our work together, we looked at all the thoughts and feelings that are alerting, that are setting her into that. And then we took each one by one, by one, by one. And we took the first one and we used the intervention on it. And then when that one is done, because there's lots of ways that you know that you're finished with that. Sometimes for beginners, a really good thing is use EFT twice on it, at least. And then check in and see, is it still intense? If it's still intense, keep tapping. And so, but when we finish the first one, then we move to the second one. And then we work through that thought and that feeling. And we got that one cleared through so that it can pass through the survival system pathways without setting off the alarms. And then the third, and then her inner healer was like, after we got through 4 or 5, she was like, "I'm not a failure. I'm not this. This isn't even accurate. I think I could try this next time." And that's when I'm watching the brain. That right there is the process of processing, and her thoughts are turning on, and not just the thoughts. The emotions were blocking the thoughts before. And now she can think the thoughts and be logical about them. That's a really great sign. And so what happened is we worked through that whole thing that we found in there. And when we came back to our next session, her celebration was that was happening, that her kids, shocker to you all, were still fighting and arguing and bickering, especially because, we're all home and on top of each other right now. And she was like, the panic just wasn't there. She was like, and I was able to engage in this way. And she said, there was one time when I just flipped the switch again. And so we took that one time because we're looking for where her survival system is reacting, because that's how you know how to help your brain, is you see what it's doing. And when you're switching right into fight mode, and it's not how we want to function. We don't have to function like that, but we do. And that's because you're shifting into a survival state. There's something about her kids fighting that her brain is associating with being dangerous. And so it's going into survival mode. It's not accurate. There's nothing dangerous about kids bickering, right? There's lots we can do to intervene there. We have tons of options. But survival systems don't know that. They're not thinking centers. They can't rationalize that. They can't solve that problem. They just are reactors. That's all they're doing. And so if we want to create some change there, we need to bring that from the reaction stage into the thinking part of our brain. And so we did that by looking at where she shifted, what was right before then. We sorted through thoughts and feelings, found it, and we worked on it. And I had her tap while paying attention to it. And we did quite a bit of work around that. When I see her next time, then we'll see what happened and see what her system is doing now. Because there's constantly an update. There's constantly an upgrade. And when we can eliminate one symptom of panic, then we go after the next one and the next one and the next one. And that is because all these thoughts and events, these past events and these feelings are all triggering your survival system. And a lot of times when I work with people, they're being so triggered all the time, they will spend most of their day in a survival state and trying to fight their way out of a survival state. And it's almost like their thoughts are confronting them everywhere. And it's just like, it's a really challenging place to be in. And so when we do that, we really just want to grab one at a time, because every one you grab is one that will no longer in the future do that to you. You will have disempowered one. Okay. And we can get through one probably in about 5 minutes. And so that's why I have my clients do 2 hours of work per day, because there's a lot of thoughts we need to get through this, and we need to heal up. We need to change how your brain is responding to them. And we need to get them into the hands of your inner healer. And so if I have my clients do that throughout the day, not in one chunk. Sometimes people will do that, but for the most part, you want to help your brain where it's having the problem. And so if you do that throughout the day, 5 divided by 120. I don't even know the math on that. Not even doing it. But whatever that is, that's how many thoughts we can get through and we can resolve. And what happens is the first week of doing this work, this will cool down their symptom, their whole limbic system, their survival system. And so they'll tell me things like, I just feel calmer. And that's because it's like in there, it's like these thoughts make you do some ping ponging, like in and out of states. And sometimes you can get caught up in a survival state and just stay there for a lot longer. And then you get out, and then another thought puts you right back in there. And it's just like, we need to slow this whole thing down and grab one, then grab the next one, then grab the next one. And this is the truth about people with anxiety, you guys, and depression, traumatic stress. I was going to say you guys, but we have lived under mental distress at such a high level. We have major tolerance skills. Like, we can really rock and do phenomenal things with our life while experiencing incredible amounts of mental attack. And so when you eliminate, and when you do this with 100 thoughts, or I don't know, 200 thoughts. I don't know how many you get in a week. I'd have to do the math, and I think I will, because that sounds fun. If you get through that many thoughts, it's like, you still have so many symptoms going on. But I'll tell you what, to you, after you've been buried, it's like a whole new day. It's like it's so amazing. And so, and this is the tricky part. This is why I do a whole 8-week program. Okay, is because people in therapy, people will feel really great then, and then they're like, okay, thanks, that was great. Talk to you later. And then you can't get them back in to finish the work. And then, of course, the rest of their stuff comes out, and then they need to get back in here. But it's like, once we go through the cooling off phase, let's get back in and go deeper to the next layer, because now we've created space to do deeper, more specific work. And that's where we can really create a lot of life changing transformation at a deep level. And what's so fantastic about the brain is that when you move these thoughts through, they're done. Your brain is not, it can become afraid of new thoughts again. It can become reactive to thoughts again. And that's why we want to keep doing the deeper work to get to the root issues. And then it's really difficult for the brain to become afraid of that thing again. Okay, so that's really what's nice, because after that, you start to build a real beautiful trust with your brain and your mind and your body, and so many, I can't tell you how awesome that is. And that's another layer of healing that we accomplish, because when you have anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, your brain is like you're on your team, and you have to like grab it and wrangle it and wrestle it. And it's just really non-cooperative, not synergistic. It's probably synergistic in the wrong direction. And it's just really hard, and you become very adversarial. There we go. Thank you, Rachel. We become very adversarial with our brains. And it's like, and then we're divided, and a team that's divided is conquerable. Right? But when we start doing this work, it's like it all starts coming together, and the trust layers right back on. And that's really, we can eliminate this at the root. You do not have to stay in survival states. That's not where we do our best work. It's not where we create from. It's really where we survive from. And surviving and thriving are two different ball games. And we want to use all your brilliance. And that's from this part of the brain. It's not from your survival center. But if you're getting shifted into your survival part of the brain, that's where you're living from. And you're living there a lot. And that's hard, because you're just doing all the things you can do to survive and make it through the day. But really, we want to take that back. We want to take back the reasons that are shifting you into that survival state. And so that you can live right here in your prefrontal cortex that knows exactly how to help you thrive, and knows how to build your life and how to solve your problems. That's really what we want. And so that's, I'll be talking about this again, because I think you can't hear this too many times, but I really want you to take away this from it. I want you to know that these thoughts, feelings, events are shifting you into this survival state. Two, paying attention to them in slow motion. That's a big key because your brain will do all of this, and it's like you just kind of want to grab one and just hold on to it and use your intervention. Okay, that's a victory, especially in the beginning. That getting one of those thoughts is a huge victory. That's what most of my first week of the program is about, is teaching people how to just grab one. Just grab one. And then if you can do that once, you can do it the next time. You're in there looking around, you're just grab one. Anyway. And then we're gonna finish that one thought, and then there's less chaos just by one. And then just by two, there's less chaos just by four, okay? And then if you can do it 4 times, you can do it 40 times. And if you can do it 40 times, you can do it 400 times. And then there's less chaos by that much, and it's phenomenal. It's all of a sudden like one of my clients said, she's like, it's like my brain works. I was like, yeah, you have a fabulous brain. We just need to untangle this stuff. And it was that, or like I think she said, is this how normal people think? You can actually like follow one thought. Anyway, your brain is amazing, and right now it may need some help. So grab one, pull it through. I'm hoping you're hearing that from this. And the other thing I want you to hear from this is that you can permanently break out of that cycle and live well and differently and vibrantly in a regulated state. Where you're not pushed around by your brain like that. And now you will always have emotions, and you will notice that your emotion will do that to you, and then you just work with it, because by then you have amazing skills and you're staying up to date, but you're not forced. That's what the disorder is. When you're forced in there and you can't get out, and then you're living your life and it's causing problems in your relationships and in your work performance and the way you're caring for yourself. That's really where the disorder is, and you don't need that. Life can absolutely resolve that. We can resolve that. Life is not like look at me, my brain again. Just life is not meant to be lived in your survival parts of the brain. We need them. We want them. They help us survive, but we have prefrontal cortexes, which we've developed that higher level of functioning to live there. That's where we want to live. And so if you're not living there, then we want to do that work. That's what you want to do. You want to grab one thought at a time in the beginning and move it through. One event at a time in the beginning, move it through. One emotion. If there's one emotion that sends you out every time and that puts you in a survival state, maybe it's self-doubt, or maybe it's that negative inner critic, or maybe it's whatever it is. Let's grab it and let's use your intervention with it and see what your brain will do with it and the healing that can come from that. And then you get to stay in that phenomenal part of the brain that can help you thrive and solve your problems. And, I love that part. So anyway, I love watching that happen. So I think that's it for me for today. We'll talk about more of this stuff later on, especially as my brain de-stresses. I've been experiencing a major family traumatic event, and that is unfolding and improving. And I continue to appreciate all of your thoughts and prayers and all the healing energy you're sending to me and my family. I'm just so amazed by it, number one. And number two, I think that there's so much more amazingness happening with those thoughts and prayers and the energy that you're sending to us than we can even comprehend consciously. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. Thank you. Thank you for bearing with my brain. My brain has been doing a phenomenal job sorting through all sorts of emotions and about this and feelings and the recent events. It's just been like whirling a mile a minute trying to help me to function. And so here I am functioning with this brain. Okay. So thank you for bearing with me during this video. I will keep talking about this, and we'll get more and more clear. If you have any questions about this, because I was a little jumbled today, if you have any questions, please go ahead and comment about them. These are your questions or things I would love to respond to live in the future. They are your questions are things I will use to write posts about. I have an email list that if you haven't gotten on yet, by all means, jump on there. I'm sharing a lot of this information. I want you to have it. I want you to be able to use it. And it may be a little more clear than what I delivered today. But I know many of you followed with where I was going today, and I appreciate that. And but that email list, like I am pumping out information, sending handouts, referring you to videos, those sorts of things. So that's available. If you're interested in working with me in my 8-week program, that's for women who want to eliminate symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and really want to take charge of their own emotional wellness and their own anxiety, depression, and trauma work, then absolutely, I included that information in the intro section of this video. So you can check out some links there about it and learn what happens during my 8-week program. Feel free to message me about it, or if you want to call and talk about it, get on my calendar by going to rachelmcleod.com/call. We'll have a chat, see if you're the right fit for the program. I definitely don't want to I would rather let someone down now than in 8 weeks. It's important that you're the right fit for this because it is a very intensive program. It's awesome. It's fun, but you do need to be the right fit for that. So if you read the instructions, not the instructions, but the offer, the invitation to work with me, you'll get a good feel if that's you. And if that's you, let's do this. Call me up and we can get you started. We'll get you started right away. So love to you all, and keep tapping, keep using your interventions, and I will see you soon. Take care.